Welcome to the NatWest ESG Horizons podcast series. In this series, we put a spotlight on our customers, highlighting new sustainability initiatives, opportunities, and perspectives. And in doing so, we hope to inform and inspire you, broadening your ESG horizon. Hi, and welcome to ESG Horizons. Thank you for listening. Today, we're talking with Christian Nickels-Teske, who is Head of Treasury and Capital Markets at Prologis, one of the world's largest logistics real estate companies, and indeed also the first in their sector to come into the green bond market. So to begin with, Christian, when people think about logistics real estate, they often conjure up these images of sizable warehouses and this constant stream of trucks coming in and out. How do you try and make this wider industry more energy efficient?
Arthur, that is a great question. At Prologis, we do this through innovative approaches focused on essentially lowering the environmental impact of our buildings and our customers' operations. And we see that Prologis and our facilities are integral in the future of sustainable logistics in Europe and globally.
And what would you say have been the most impactful investments that you've done in your portfolio?
We've been very active in improving the energy efficiency of all of our facilities. This includes developing new buildings to sustainable building certification standards and including features like LED lighting as standard for new development and building retrofit projects. As you know, Prologis has been a long-standing leader in the growth and development of renewable energy across our global portfolio, and Prologis has goals associated with these efforts, including a goal to have every new development sustainably certified, a goal to achieve 100% portfolio coverage with LED lighting by 2025, and at least 400 megawatt peak of installed solar capacity by the same year, 2025 globally. We are also actively supporting our customers in their transition to a low carbon economy, including installing the necessary infrastructure in new developments to be able to support electric fleets that our customers are transitioning to, as well as providing solutions like our Solar Smart program to enable our customers to access on-site renewable energy. In addition to that, we're exploring other solutions to support our customers in assessing renewable energy solutions or utilizing battery storage to bolster resilience and the utilization of renewable electricity.
Quite a range of initiatives there, Christian. I think it highlights that there is no one magic bullet, right? It does take a number of these technologies and interventions in the assets, be that around lighting, be that around solar, be that around the certification process to get to the desired outcome. But
Arthur, that I think you absolutely hit it here. There is no one item that he can do that solves that solves all the problems. It's a modular approach. You need to have the toolbox available. You need to be on it every day and implement these measures, and only with the combination of bringing all this together, you can achieve the transition. You're absolutely right.
And when you, as you rightly described, you're going through quite an intensive process here in greenifying this portfolio and helping your customers. I'm sure that there have been quite a few successes, but also, I guess, learning opportunities. And what would you say have been the latter? Right? What have been things you've learned throughout this process?
I think every investment that we do in sustainability has an impact, but there are examples in our European portfolio that stand out. And let me use Prologis European Logistics Fund as an example that ended last year, 2021, with 146 sustainably certified buildings, had 59 megawatt peak installed solar capacity, and aims to achieve 100% portfolio coverage with LED lighting by 2025. When you look at the projects, and maybe just to hit a few in the Netherlands, Germany, and France that come to mind that really had innovative approaches and had the most impact. We have a facility in Eindhoven in the Netherlands that we were able to fully electrify, that is being used by one of our customers, GXO. And that is an example of where you really do not use any type of fossil fuels for that facility, because it's just based on an electrified renewable energy commitment. Another facility in the Netherlands, in Waalwijk, used in the construction process 20 to 30% circular bio-based cradle-to-cradle materials. That is a percentage that is right now fairly high, but can be increased. But another great example of what can be done on the innovation side. Tilburg, we have a facility. We recently installed a 1 megawatt battery storage, and again, experimenting with the build out of the battery storage capabilities to better serve our customers. And there are many other examples in Germany as well, with well-gold buildings, well certified buildings. But the one that I think probably brings together a lot of these initiatives and has one of the greatest impacts is a building that was recently completed in Moissy near Paris, which is the first industrial logistics building certified as zero carbon by the ILFI, the International Future Institute. This one has a 75% reduction in site waste achieved, and low carbon concrete, improved thermal inertia used in buildings, making them more comfortable to work in. In addition, carbon emissions were avoided thanks to the geothermal system implemented, in which the solution is responsible for 30% of the overall project's total carbon savings. And that means that you essentially reduce the energy consumption of the heating and cooling system by 60% and related emissions by 71%. So on 36,000 square meters of PV solar energy panels installed, you get to almost 1.5 gigawatt of electricity for own use over the lifetime of that building. That, in my mind, brings it all together, as probably the best that you can do currently on the building side.
Very impressive numbers, in particular in relation to the site you've described now as being the first certified zero carbon warehouse near Paris. What have been your learnings as you've gone about these interventions and these retrofit programs for your portfolio?
Yeah, Arthur, we've been talking about this, you and I, for a long time, and as you know, we keep learning every day, and constantly refine our approach to better serve our customers. That's what it's all about at the end. We've already started the ESG journey over a decade ago, and established our first green bond framework in 2018. These early and proactive efforts have put us in a position to have products and services available that are maturing to meet the evolving needs of our customers. For example, we were an early adopter and promoter of solar on our rooftops. And now we have a program in place to meet the demands of customers for on-site solar through the Prologis Solar Smart program. Additionally, we're trying to proactively prepare our buildings for the transition to electric vehicles by our customers, so we can support their transition efforts and encourage use of renewable energy from the grid and on-site production of renewable energy. And finally, there are certain incentives available for early proactive retrofits and adoption of energy efficiency programs, for example, in Germany. And many of these incentives are aimed to precede regulatory requirements that might be more stringent and require that building to meet certain environmental thresholds. So when you summarize all this and maybe in 3-4 points, what we're aiming for is a life cycle assessment of our buildings, minimizing CO2 emissions during the development process and aiming to achieve zero CO2 in operations. In addition, as I mentioned earlier, continuous learning, a modular approach using equipment and materials that reduce energy consumption and CO2 emissions during the development or retrofitting process. And thirdly, we focus on primary energy demand in kilowatt hours per square meter for heat and electricity and CO2 savings in kilograms per square meter, rather than just having a sustainability certification, because we think that the ultimate focus on kilowatt hours and CO2 in kilograms is a better measure over the long term. And for all developments, I think I haven't mentioned that before. We partner with, in Europe, we partner with Cool Earth. Cool Earth is a program to offset CO2 emissions, and that is something that we've been doing now for a number of years in the UK and more recently on the continent as well.
I think those are a number of great points. I like what you said about having been an early adopter, so anticipating what your clients' ESG and sustainability product needs are going to be, but then continuing to learn. And as you spoke about the primary energy demand piece, knowing your metric, knowing what's the relevant sustainability metric for your industry.
Right. And and as we said before, it's a learning experience, and maybe in 2 or 3 years from now, we'll use a different metric. But I think, and I hope you agree that for us, at least on the logistics side, logistics real estate side, this is the best metric to focus on for the moment.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And as you say, there are limitations to what an external certificate can tell you vis-a-vis knowing the numbers and knowing the impact numbers for the asset. But then there's also, of course, limitations with regards to your role, right? You're the landlord. You're not the one operating the asset. You're not the tenant, but of course you can play a role in incentivizing the tenant to be more energy efficient, to change their behavior. How do you go about doing that? How do you work with your customers?
That's right, Arthur. We see sustainability as a team effort. And our role as landlord is to ensure that we can provide the best infrastructure. We can encourage and enable use of renewable energy from the grid and on site. We can build and maintain equipment and optimize the building envelope to the highest standards to enable our customers to save energy and avoid carbon. But in the end, all parties need to have a common goal and commitment to sustainability. So this is not an effort by us. This is really a team effort, and that's what we try to get across in all of our conversations. And I think we have a lot of customers that really embrace this approach with us. Green leases or green lease elements in leases to define the roles of the stakeholders, in the process can be a very good tool to structure this transition. We have, just to give you a couple of examples, we have leveraged our scale to secure certain solutions and efficiencies that allow us to pass along cost savings to our customers to really show that it's a combined effort. An example of this is our LED lighting program, our solar smart programs, and many other initiatives that we're working on. We're also helping our customers to understand the changing landscape and creating solutions that can help them to transition ahead of regulatory requirements. Mentioned that earlier, that being an early adopter, we probably have a time horizon that gives us a head start of a couple of years on certain requirements that we can then already alert our customers to encourage and enable the use of renewable energy from the grid and on-site, and continuously build out that on-site generation, build and maintain equipment, and the building envelope is really the key. If you build the building envelope to the highest standards, that enables customers to save energy. Come back to the green leases. I mean, this is something that we've been working on for some time by incorporating language in the Prologis clear leases that help us to better understand how our customers are performing in our spaces, to give us insight on how we can help them to be more operationally and energy efficient. And in 2018 and again in 2021, Prologis was recognized by the US Department of Energy and its partner IMT as a gold level green lease leader for our various efforts to use green leases and provide efficiency opportunities to our customers.
I think those are all excellent points. I like your point at the start there. Is it's a team effort. It requires close collaboration, education, and then indeed the sharing when there are economic savings from accruing from green projects. And as you said, green leases can be a good contractual tool to help there. A lot of these things we've spoken about really aren't cheap, and particularly in an era of rising raw material energy prices. How do you think about these kind of sustainability objectives vis-a-vis the more near-term, cost pressures that any company faces?
These are all obviously hot topics right now. I mean, we've always made sure that our portfolio is geared towards consumption, and our buildings are close to the population centers. That in itself, I think, helps you save transportation costs, which is a large part of the cost of our customers. What we're looking at really is to leverage our scale to procure certain raw materials and make our development activities more resilient to supply chain challenges. And for the energy price increases, this can go further, make a strong business case for what on-site energy solutions like solar that will not only help our customers to manage operational costs, but also lower the environmental impact of energy consumption across our global portfolio. And we currently only use a fraction of Prologis European Logistics Fund's roofs for PV installations, and there is significant room to further build out the on-site power generation, and then as a next step, the infrastructure to electrify the fleets of our customers. So I think these investments are not cheap, but at the same time, they're manageable, and if you buy and initiate them in scale, you have an advantage. And you can really make a difference in the transition to electrify the fleets of our customers.
Yeah, I think that's very fair. In an age of, as you rightly say, rising energy prices, suddenly the cost benefit analysis for doing more on-site starts to change, and I think that becomes more interesting. And as you say, there's more roofs that can be given a solar panel. So there's still more that can be done there. You spoke earlier about the green finance framework that you've set up at Prologis. Well, what role has that played in these efforts?
No, that's a great point, actually. And you're very familiar with our green finance framework, and remember all the discussions that we had at the time when we set up the first one, and then when we updated the framework over time as well. What our green bond framework really did, it helped us to accelerate the growth of sustainably certified buildings and enhance the cross-team collaboration to focus on primary energy demand and CO2 emissions per square meter. What that means is, before we had the green bond framework, we had a lot of teams focused on, I would say, individual parts of the overall transition. But the green bond framework really helped us to narrow down the focus. And we talked about sustainability certificates. We talked about kilowatt hours per square meter CO2 savings per square meter in kilograms. That really helped to focus the teams to drive the message in the company and to get the message across to the customers as well. And to date, we have used our green bonds to further support our sustainable development activities, our building upgrades, our various programs. And we're looking at the potential to leverage green financing to further our decarbonization efforts. So I think the point in time, in early 2018 when the green bond framework came in place, I think that was when really the entire European organization was fully switched on and frankly accelerated our ESG efforts from 2018 on every year.
It's a point we hear more often, actually, and it's not always an obvious one, but having the green finance infrastructure can be a really good way of bringing together different stakeholders and different functions, be that treasury, sustainability, operations, IR, towards a common goal, and often accelerate that common goal because there's now this clear finance focus associated with it.
Yeah. And it does, and Arthur, it does change conversations. I mean, when you pick up the phone and you ask about, if it wouldn't make sense to put in additional insulation in a certain building to achieve the next higher level on the certification scale, that is a conversation I think that I would have not had before 2018.
Yeah, that's a very good point. You mentioned earlier, you gave some examples of buildings in the portfolio and specific sustainability achievements. Now, within PELF, within your European Logistics Fund, there's about 600 buildings, and I guess I'm wondering if you had to pick one of those buildings, what would be your favorite green case study?
I think there's so many good examples, but there is one that I like very much that brought together for me, at least at the time, and this is only about 2 years ago, everything that we were able to do, what I mentioned earlier on the toolkit and on the modular innovations that we were able to bring out. That is a facility located in south of Frankfurt in Muggensturm in Germany, with L'Oreal as the customer. That's really a marquee facility in our European portfolio. That facility was built to meet the needs of the customer to have a central facility to support their distribution efforts in surrounding German markets. And the building was developed to be operationally carbon neutral. How do we achieve this? We achieved it by maximizing energy efficiency on site, sourcing renewable electricity, and then installing a rooftop solar installation that produces 120%, so 20% more than is needed for the building itself. So 120% of energy needs of the buildings are covered. This renewable energy production more than accounts for the limited energy consumption at the facility and from renewable sources. The building also made socially beneficial commitments by supporting a charitable organization focused on finding employment opportunities for people with development disabilities. And the building also features a green roof to provide habitat to local bird species while also retaining rainwater and reducing rainwater runoff. So in my mind, this building is still my favorite. If you ever have a chance to drive by there, it's located on the motorway from Frankfurt south on the A5. It's a remarkable facility.
I really like that example, and particularly because it brings out a number of related sustainability themes here, right? You've highlighted also some of the social impact and the sort of the charity partnership there, and then you've also highlighted we've spoken a lot about climate action here and then carbon action. You've highlighted also the importance of biodiversity and the green roof. So that sounds like a very well thought through project. But perhaps we spoke a lot about your role within the company, but perhaps we'll zoom now towards your role, I guess, as a consumer, as all of us are. And if anyone is aware about the impact that ordering goods online has on the environment and what happens behind the scenes, I guess that's yourself. And in that context, what will be your advice for people looking to reduce their carbon footprint from e-commerce transactions?
That's a great question. I think let me answer that in two parts. Let me answer it. What the environmental impact is for ordering goods online first, and then my personal view, but how I deal with it. Right. There is actually from Prologis research department. They published the results of a study by the MIT Real Estate Innovation Lab that discusses the tangible environmental benefits of e-commerce compared to brick and mortar retail. And one of the metrics from the study was carbon emissions from online shopping are 36% lower on average than those produced by in-store trips. There is certainly a case to be made that e-commerce retailers need to be focused on lowering the environmental impact of packaging and managing returns, but given the efficiencies of e-commerce and distribution networks, there can be a significantly lower carbon footprint from this type of commerce compared to purchases made by consumers from multiple brick and mortar retail facilities, which you need to drive to or get to individually. To answer the second part of your question, what would be my advice? My advice would be, as a customer buying retail products, whether online or at a store, to focus on operators that have a focus on reducing carbon in their supply chains, using a certified distribution center, companies that use electric delivery vehicles. These are the signs that I would be looking for when choosing where to shop. And personal example, as a conscious consumer, that I always look at electric vehicle delivery, reusable boxes instead of lots of packaging materials, and overall the messaging of the company that wants to see me as a consumer.
All very actionable points. Thank you very much, Christian, for your time.
Thank you, Arthur, and thank you for having me on your program.
Thank you for listening to the ESG Horizons podcast series. We hope you found this episode informative. We very much welcome your feedback and questions. Please email us at sustainablefinance@natwestmarkets.com.